Hey, what's going on, guys? It is your favorite entrepreneur here, Sierra Nicole, and we are back with another episode of The Boss Seat. The Boss Seat is a show where we interview individuals that are absolutely killing it, and we're going to show you what it costs to really be a boss. And today we have a super special guest. Actually, you met her about a year ago at a conference, and I've been following her ever since, and she gives out amazing information to help you all with investing, building wealth, and all that good stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and let Ericka introduce herself. Ericka, welcome to the Boss Seat.
What's up, everybody? This is your girl, Ericka, from the Classy Climb blog.
Awesome, Ericka. I appreciate it. I know that you're from Austin, Texas, and you're all the way down here or I guess up here in Dallas, Texas, so I appreciate you coming out.
For sure.
Absolutely. So for those of you that may not know who you are just yet, let us know a little bit about your background and what is the Classy Climb.
So the Classy Climb is basically me documenting my journey the past 9 years when I moved to Austin, Texas. Long and the story short, I've been an apartment manager, I've owned a painting company, and I've actually done a lot of digital marketing. About 2,000 videos in, 10,000 students.
Wow.
We're here enjoying a lot of different opportunities right now.
I mean, 2,000 videos and 10,000 students, that's no small feat.
Man, it's been
At
work.
all. Yeah, absolutely. Wow. So what got you into the space of, first off, investing in real estate, but then also documenting your journey?
So what's really kind of unique about my family is there are a lot of military and police officers, and they invest in a lot of real estate. But as a young person, you're like, oh, I'm ready to move away and do other stuff. And then you realize you circle back to like what you know.
Right.
So I would be telling people stories about my family and our investment properties, and people would be like, no way, no way, right? And so I started just video recording it and just telling good stories and motivating people, and then it just took off from there.
So you come from a background then of real estate.
Yeah, really, weirdly enough, we had farms and juke joints, and so
Wow.
so you're talking about North Carolina, 1920s. You're talking about old school stuff you see in movies, but literally that was our family. And so when economic times got a little weird in the 80s, we ended up living more central into town and renting the land out and buying other little small properties because it's a military town. People come in and out, very transient, but the rental rates are always excellent. So
That's awesome. I know that especially within the Black community, we don't often see where that information, that knowledge is able to be passed down through generations. So I think that's really cool that you come from a background of people who have been investing in entrepreneurship. Has that, obviously played a big role into what you do today?
Man, it's crazy. My first job at 14 was my cousin's dollar store, but it wasn't a franchise. He literally went over to Kosovo, did his service, what you call a security overseas thing, contractor, and he came back and had a magazine, and it was from China, but you can order things and ship it to America. So I'm 14, I'm watching him create a store full of all these things in Chinese letters and boxes. This is before the internet where you could just order stuff on Alibaba.
Right.
This is like you had to order in a magazine, you had to wait 2 months, and it shows up at your door. And so I'm in this store he created, and that was my first job. And it just kind of reminded me, like, anything is possible. Like, you can create anything, really.
Right.
So that was like, I think it set me on a course of like, oh, well, I don't have to be at a job I don't like. I don't have to be around people I don't like. I can create something and switch my environment.
That's amazing. And, having that exposure is so important. That's why I always say, kids at a young age need to be exposed to different things so that they can even know what's possible.
Yeah.
That's super important. So you being able to see that at a young age, just growing up, obviously is a catapult for, what you're doing now. As far as someone who maybe doesn't come from a background of entrepreneurship, but they want to get into maybe having a business or investing, I mean, are there any first steps or advice that you can give them?
Man, I really tell people to do a self-assessment. There are so many of us out here who are super talented at a thing, right? I don't know what that thing is for you, but let's say you're working in an office and you're the best organizer that office has. I've met people who can tell you the things they've done for a company for the past 10 years. They would fill up a notebook. Like they create a whole training manual. And so what ends up happening is some of these people, if they get let go and they're seasoned employees, well, you know how to run an office.
Right.
You know how to manage. You know how to train people. You have skills that are valuable to the marketplace. And I always tell people do assessment. When you're at whatever job you're at right now, do an assessment of what you do well and what you don't do well. And kind of package that, right? If a company comes in like, hey, we're starting to do layoffs, well, here's this notebook of stuff I've done for you guys. Yeah. And I actually trained all the staff, and I actually put this together, and you have a better bargaining chip, before you leap out there for entrepreneurship.
I love that. It's really documenting just experiences and skills that you already have.
Yeah.
A lot of people think that they have to, be in the game for 10, 20 years before they can be deemed an expert or be deemed someone who can share value online. But, I love that. I do.
Yeah. I mean, there was one lady, she did well at Excel sheets or something. I was like, do you know how many people can't do an Excel sheet?
Yeah, me included.
You can go online and get paid a lot of money just to do that remotely or do it for companies or be an accountant. People aren't great with numbers, right? So a lot of times there's power in what you already do. And everybody doesn't have to be the absolute boss. Some people get hired within a smaller structure. They're basically running the show.
That's major. And I hope that kind of inspires somebody who's, looking at everybody on YouTube, Instagram, trying to figure out kind of where they can fit in. Just start where you are with the experiences that you have. It's amazing. And so I know that you mentioned that you're about 2,000 videos in.
A little bit more, but yeah.
Ooh, that's a lot. That is a lot.
We literally I was in a season of life where YouTube has changed so much where they, celebrate you doing a lot of content or they celebrate you doing live content. And so as it's changed, you look back, you're like, man, I have a ton of videos. Right, I have a ton of playlists. But I wouldn't change it because it's like I could take half those videos off, chop a bunch of them into shorts and still make bank. You know what I mean? It's the content, even if you comb through hours of it, it's still great. Like I still get hits off videos from 5 and 6 years ago, and I'll also have something sell and I'll be like, what is this PayPal link? Where is this link from? Right. And it'll be some video 6 years ago. We just haven't updated our descriptions, which takes a long time to go through and change.
Yeah.
You have that many videos.
Wow. So when it comes to being that consistent, because I've noticed that you do have a pretty strong community within your followers or subscribers, how are you able to stay so consistent?
Man, we get a lot of requests. We have a lot of sponsorship deals per month. We also have a lot of email package deals we do. So a lot of this stuff is like almost plug and play at this point for me, which is a little bit different, but it didn't start out that way, right? We gained that trust of our audience, and I'd be like, listen, I'm going to always bring you the quality guest or somebody that knows what they're talking about, or I'm going to bring you to an event that's great. I'm never going to lead you down a crazy road because it's something I'm documenting myself doing, and that's where I take it from. Like I had my first boat party and I was just crying my eyes out because people were standing up like, yo, I bought stock for my grandchildren. I bought a rental property. Wow. You changed my life. And I'm just crying at my own event because I just did not know, you hear all these stuff online, but when you see it in person, that's what really it touches. You're like, oh, thank you.
Yeah, it's really amazing because especially in the digital era where we can have an impact on so many people that we've never even met. Yep. So being able to connect with them in person, actually hearing wow, I've actually made a difference, that's very impactful personally, for sure.
Yeah, we just had a testimony we put online because I got so teary-eyed the other day. The lady's like, I just turned 39. I'm in the Bahamas. My credit score went up 100 points. I bought my first investment property. I closed this week. I just want to thank you for your course. And I'm like, whoa, and it's just it's moments like that where you're like, oh yeah, we, when you're grumpy about doing videos, you're like, we're changing lives. It's cool.
Absolutely. That's awesome. As far as, when it comes to investing or getting into real estate, someone who is, just starting out, they're trying to get their life together. Right. What would that possibly look like for someone who knows, they know that they need to build wealth, they want to build wealth, but they just have nowhere to start?
Man, one of the biggest things I tell people is, again, we talk about self-assessment, but it's so important because, for example, I'm in Austin, Texas. It's one of the hottest markets out there.
Right.
It's one of the top 10, right? What ended up happening is in Austin, and this kind of goes back to how do you empower yourself? How do you get wealth? Bank of America got sued for discriminating against minority and Latinos and blacks.
Yeah.
Now they give out this $17,000 home down payment assistance. So in Austin, Texas, I meet so many Latino and black people like, oh, I got my first home. I'm like, how'd you get it? It's so expensive here. They go, I went to the new builders, paid $1,000 down. Bank of America gave me the homeowners down assistance payment, and now I'm in my first home. And no one's talking about that at a big level, but them owning their own home and being able to house hack the rooms out, them being able to say, you know what, I'd rather live over on this side of town, so I'm just going to rent this whole house out. That creates a pathway for them. And it's the simple stuff that gets a lot of people started, right? It's like the home ownership where I'll meet people say, Eric, I don't really feel like I want to own my own home. And I go, I jokingly say, listen, we live where we can make a choice. Our grandparents and parents didn't really always have a choice. owning it and being able to rent it out is like a powerful thing.
Right.
And that's how you should look at it. But if you say, hey, Ericka, I want to get a duplex, I want to get rentals, I want to get something else, I always go examine the area you're in, but look an hour out. Right? Because we always think, hey, I want to be right here, downtown, great.
Right.
You will go an hour out within your city, and so many people who are like, I'm trying to get lower rent, they're going to go further out from your city, and there's plenty of opportunities to buy out there.
That makes sense, especially if you are in a big metroplex. And, as you know, the real estate market has been crazy over the last couple of years. And I know a lot of young people like millennial, Gen Z, home ownership or even investing in real estate, it just seems like such a far feat because of the real estate market. But I know that you mentioned, with Bank of America, Wells Fargo, some of the different programs that they may offer. And I know that they have had a lot of lawsuits. Like they just don't have a good reputation for treating minorities correctly.
Right.
And so do you still advise people to have relationships with those types of banks?
So if you ever watch my channels or any of my trainings, my biggest thing is small community banks. Like I'm not even playing like, when you see a website on a bank and it looks janky, it looks like from 1995,
right?
And you're concerned, those are the best banks because they have to keep up with the times. They have to loan out money. They get a lot of input in. Even here in DFW area, we drove by some banks and they're like, I've never heard of that bank. I'm like, it's probably only 2 branches, but they give out money because they're on this side of town. And so you're wanting to look for banks like that. Or if you drive by construction sites and you start seeing financed by Frost, financed by Prosperity Bank, by Plains Capital, that's what you're looking for. I've had students, I joined Frost and I was like, oh, I love Frost Bank. And I told my students, I had students get like $1 million out of Frost and $50,000 out of Frost. And so Frost wasn't the best for me, but a ton of my students made a bank off of it in Texas.
That's awesome. And that's something that I talk about too, with, small banks, local banks, mid-sized banks, because at the end of the day, it's all about relationships. And it's so much easier to build a relationship when you can actually go in and talk to people versus a Bank of America, Wells Fargo, you're probably talking to a robot,
For that little technique, I just noticed how pervasive they were. They were like, hey, we got this down. And I was like, why are they doing that? And they're like, oh, research is the lawsuit, right?
Yeah.
Another thing is in Austin, there was a small bank. It's like one branch. It's off in Lakeway. I'm trying to not say its name. But I go in there, and the lady was like, oh, you need something? I'm like, hey, I'm looking for some lending products, So we got the vice president. And the president, she's like, well, the president's right here. I'm like, the president? Like the president of the whole bank? Yeah. And we're going through this spill, and he goes, who sent you over here? So first I could have been like, oh, what do you mean? Like, that's discrimination. But I didn't. I just played with it. I just rolled with it. I said, well, who do you mean? He's like, did a builder send you over here? Did a construction guy send you over here? One of my banker friends? Who sent you over here? Nobody knows about this bank. And in the lobby is a Mexican couple from Mexico who were transferring $1 million wire to close on a home over in Lakeway. He was like, well, I'm in between messing with them, but I want to make sure I get you taken care of. He's like, I have the power to loan up to $50,000 today or $150,000 if it's this particular project.
Right.
What do you need? Where's your paperwork? Lucky for him, I'm like, here's the paperwork. I have it with me, right? And that's the power of smaller banks. That I'm talking to the president of that bank. The vice president was over in the other room doing something, was like, oh, I can get her paperwork if I need to.
Yeah.
But that wouldn't happen in most cities. That wouldn't happen at most Bank of Americas and Chase. That wouldn't happen, right?
Yeah.
They're not the person who's the decision maker, but those people are. And so that's why I always recommend, if you're going to find a bank, find a bank with 2 to 4 branches. Texas is great for this. There's a ton of credit unions.
Yeah.
They'll cash you that little 25. Here's a little 25. And you're like, no, I need some more. Right?
Yeah.
But, there's a power in that because you can build relationships with those smaller banks because they know they do have to compete.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I know that you mentioned, going into the bank and handing them your paperwork, right? I know that especially in 2020 with the whole PPP and everything, a lot of minority business owners missed out on a lot of funding
60%.
Opportunity. Yeah, because they didn't have paperwork. And so can you just kind of dive in just briefly as someone who is a business owner, like when you say paperwork, what do you even mean by that?
So 9 times out of 10, I'm talking about your EIN, the original form it came on. Yeah. I'm talking about your operating agreement. I'm talking about your LLC formation. Then I'm talking about, on top of that, your P&L and your balance sheet. So if you guys sign up for QuickBooks, they owe me a sponsorship. Okay, QuickBooks, when you see me, give me a sponsorship.
Right.
So QuickBooks has this thing where they can tie it to your business debit card or or your credit cards. You literally are going through there and you're updating your bookkeeping as you're spending. So much so that my bookkeeper showed me how to do. I just literally update for the week, and I can go in and it gets assigned where it needs to. At the end of the day, I can print out a P&L, which is your profit and loss, and I can print out a balance sheet, which is your assets. You put those 5 together, and you come into a bank. Hey, this is who I am. This is my balance sheet. This is my profit and loss. Here's my tax from last year if they need be. You're golden. Because they literally have to haggle with people. Can I get this paper? Can I get this paper?
Right.
Can I get your EIN number? Can I get your this? If you start with those 5 sheets of paper, in theory, you're pretty much good to go, because anything additional at that is maybe them asking for another year's of tax returns.
Right.
Or what's your website? Or what's your phone number? Or what does your business do? I've had to explain what my business does to at least 10 banks at this point. They're like, man, that's awesome, but we can't lend to you. We don't do anything e-com. And I'm like, but it's not e-com, it's consulting. Oh, what? But it's digital. And I'm like, yes, but. And so you have to have a clear, concise 2-sentence kind of message of what your business is and what it does. And that's, really confidence is the game at that point.
So, but you're talking about actually going in and talking to people, right?
Go in the actual bank, set an appointment. I tell my students like this: if they ain't giving you no money, like if they don't say, hey, we can't lend you today, but maybe 90 days from now, take your money and go. Take your money and go, because I've actually gone to banks with the bank statements from another bank, showed it to the banker, plus my P&L, plus my balance sheet, plus my taxes, and she was like, okay, we can approve you.
Wow.
How can we earn all your business, though? Because I said, hey, I'm going to start sending my direct deposit here, but how can we earn all your business with Williams?
Right.
And that was the next question after she said, I can get you 25.
So it's almost like you got to play the game with them a little bit. I think sometimes when we think of banks, it's like kind of intimidating.
Right.
And so we just go with whatever they say.
Or we come in like, please,
Yeah.
can you, I've had a business for a few years. No,
Right.
man, I've run this much. Like, I literally came in and this guy told me no. And I was in a little mood, right? I
Yeah.
said, listen, and this is a year. This, again, IRS, if you watch. I was like, I make $450,000 a year, dude. The average American makes $30K a year. You're not telling me no. And if you're going to tell me no, you're going to explain why you're telling me no. It's not the score. It's not the tax returns. You have every piece of document. Do you not loan to my type of business? And he had to sit back and he just smiled like, this little person, like, what is she doing? And he said, well, we need to further review it. You're brand new with us. Let us see what your deposits are for the next 60 days. And I was like, let me tell you this. If I don't have something from you guys the next 60 days, I'm leaving. I have to close my account. And so I think what happens is you have to realize it's your money. These banks have to lend. And they're taught an old school method to look for a no. Right? Get it?
Right.
Like, you come in here, oh, something's wrong.
Right.
I'm looking for the no. They don't have the paperwork.
Yeah.
Oh, they don't have this. You can't explain this. At one time I had this guy. He's like, hey, like 27,000 comes out of this account every month. It goes in, it comes out. He's like, what's going on? I'm like, expenses, bills,
Right.
payroll. I was like, this is my operating account. Oh, okay. Right? So they're looking for that, I don't know if this is legit kind of thing. And it's such the wild, wild west right now. You have to realize, like, this past 3 years, the PPP, the EID loan, the e-com, the ticket resale guys, money's going in and out of accounts like left and right.
Yeah.
And it's hard for them to grasp on, how can I verify this client? Right? W-2 all day. Hey,
Right.
there you go. Have a great day. It's because they feel safe knowing this person has a job. I can track it. It's a place. Even with the 60% of African American Latino people who couldn't get the PPP loan, most of the people that I know that are, just being honest, are white. They were like, oh, I'm my own employee at my company. I'm a W-2.
Yeah.
And so they got, not only did they get the PPP and the EID loan, they got the ERC, which is Employee Recovery Credit.
Yeah.
So they got another $26,000 years later. And so it's the paperwork is so important. Just having a simple QuickBooks setup, having a way to track. If I call you, if you're calling me on a consult call and I'm like, hey, what's in your business account today? I don't know. What's your personal credit scores? I don't know. These things are that really trip us up. We can be great at sales. We can be great at making money. But if we don't have that paperwork to slide in the door, it kind of stops us.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I know I preach that all the time about the paperwork aspect because like you said, it does hold us back and trips us up from achieving a lot or even just being able to get the funding that we need because we already only get about, I think it was like less than 3% of total funding every year goes to, Black, minority, even women businesses. So it's we just have to make sure that our ducks are in a row, you know, and stop and get out of that hustle mentality.
Very much.
You know, because I feel like a lot of people in our community are stuck in that hustle and they're not able to actually build a real business.
They're on year 1 and year 10. Do you know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
you ask them about their paperwork, they're pulling out a folder full of receipts. Ma'am, if you don't get out of here. If you don't go digitize that and get on somewhere. But this is why I'll have calls from people. Hey, my mom had a stroke. We just took over her business. It's a mess. We don't know what to do. That's a very common call we get. Like, hey, my mom has this thing or she has this daycare. It's been great, but the paperwork.
Right.
Like, we don't know where to take off, who to pay, how to pay, and we're writing checks. I'm like, writing checks. You should have that. And QuickBooks does payroll, y'all. Like any of these things, Gusto, all this stuff is super simple to set up. And literally Gusto, I can send the link to you and be like, hey, you're my W-2, fill out your name, your address.
Right.
You fill it out yourself. How can I mess up there, right?
Yeah.
They coming in writing checks. I'm like, writing checks?
Yeah.
Girl, your mom ought to be on Gusto by now. It's 2023. But it just depends, you know? There's a lot of old school people. They've been doing something old school for so long. I mean, like, I'll give you a story. I tried to buy a business to make a truck stop north of Austin.
Okay.
I was excited. I'm like, this business been in business 20 years. Yeah. They books are going to be rich. Their contacts. I'm going to be at the bank just rolling in dough. I get in there. I go, show me your books. I get in there. They got people labeled as cash customer, customer 2, customer 7, Jeff with long hair, black guy with blue truck. I'm like, what? You know, so they had this 20-year business and they had a wall full of business cards and they would get so busy, they would give the business to their friends. So I looked up one day and I just watched them for 3 days in a row. They got so slammed because they're right off the highway. They would call and go, hey, Jeff, we're going to send 2 trucks your way. Hey, we're going to send 3 trucks your way. Hey, we're going to send these 2 guys over there. Imagine every day sending 10 semi-trucks to your friends' businesses over the course of years.
Right.
You're holding up everybody else in this equation. And so when they were like, well, I said, hey, look, I'm going to make you a great offer. We're going to do $1.5 million. We're going to do this in payments over 10 years. You're going to stay on the business for 5 because y'all not old. Y'all not going to retire. Yeah. Y'all going to still run the oil change stop, all that stuff for the semi-trucks while we build out the parking deck. They're like, well, our friend said we should sell it for $3 million. And I said, where did they read the paperwork? Where did they read the EBITDA, right? Yeah. I took it to 30 banks. They were like, let me tell you what I'm going to tell you. I'm going to give you $500,000 for this. You know why? Their database is terrible. Their books aren't great. They've been writing everything off for years. So you're going to come into a conundrum where a lot of baby boomers are going to want to sell their business, but they don't have good books. So what can I give you for something if I can't prove its worth? I can't just go, man, it's right off the highway. It's really great.
Right.
It's just a lot of traffic. How do I know that? Is there a camera telling me how much traffic? Is there data telling me how much traffic goes by there every day? If not, I'm going to base it off the land. And that's something a lot of people are talking about buying businesses, but I'm like, wait, when you really get in those things, you're looking at their books. Banks are going to base it off something they know they can secure. The building, the land.
That makes sense. And I know that we actually sometime last year were considering buying someone's business. He was a baby boomer looking to pretty much retire. His kids didn't want the business, but you know, once once you get in there, you realize, okay, this is a hot mess, a whole hot mess, you know? And so I think a lot of people are going to be in an interesting predicament, you know, because there are a lot of the older generation looking to retire, but they're stuck in these businesses and they don't have the paperwork, you know. But do you think that there's an opportunity for millennial Gen Z to come in and really be able to capitalize off of that?
Yes, you know, owner financing and seller financing is going to be the way we capitalize off that because once we show them, hey, this is what your books say. Right. This is what the bank says. This is what everybody's saying. I can get you cash consistently. I can tell you right now, back to my hometown, there's a Puerto Rican plumber, and he's had a plumbing business for like 25 years. I'm ready to retire. I'm 75. I ain't going to do no more work. He retires. He sells his business to 2 younger guys, but he still has his phone. So his phone rings every single day. Hey, man, Mr. Peter, come on over here, man. I might have a toilet problem. I have this problem. My water backing up. All day long, his phone rings. He's bored. What does he do? He go back and take the business. So you're going to have to find a way as a young person wanting to buy those businesses to get the people. Service businesses are all about the relationships and all about the people.
Right.
We even have a guy who does ACs, and his son was kind of taking over the business, but people want to call his dad. Well, send your daddy over. His daddy's on a cane. They don't care. They want his daddy to come look at the AC unit. And if the son say yeah, then yeah. But that's the thing. You have these boomers who've set up these businesses really just to serve themselves and their family and their needs. And your goal as a business buyer is to show them, hey, I can't get but this much from the bank because of the books. But if you work with me, I can get you these payments on time.
Right.
Now, we come in, we know how to get our QuickBooks rolling. We know how to get the marketing up. We know if we wrap the van instead of just having a truck with a sticker on the side, now our phone's going to ring all day. I know 2 guys right now in Austin, they wrapped their 2 trucks with the last money they had. Their phone hasn't stopped ringing for 3 years.
Wow.
It was the best decision of their life. But if you ask a small mom and pop business, well, I don't want to cover my truck. It's my favorite truck. And, I don't know if the phone going to ring all day. It don't matter. Hire somebody to answer that phone. Send them on over. There's too many companies that provide a service that you can alleviate a lot of these smaller problems that older mom and pop businesses have.
It's almost like a lot of them are stuck in, 1990, as far as.
Get there, when they get there, they're going to write a receipt on a sheet of paper and a receipt book and keep it moving.
Yeah, but I definitely see a big opportunity for people who do have some type of knowledge or a business acumen to basically modernize a lot of these businesses that are operating right now. I think there's a big opportunity there right now, for sure.
And it's really, so you get to a point where a lot of boomers are like, it's so hard to hire and I'm busy.
Yeah.
And I went to a mastermind like 2 weeks ago. And this guy says he does 20 to 40 interviews every Friday. And it's like his employees see people coming in every Friday. He does about 800 a year. And I'll go, what's the point of that? And he's like, I always want to have 20 people on standby. So if I got to fire somebody, they in twos, right? They've been at work. I'm hating to hear too, girl. You too. Both of y'all go on. Here's your paperwork. Slide. Texas is right to work state.
Right.
And so what happens is they see, man, they interviewing. Like, I got to get on my job. I got to really be on it. And so there has to be this push of you pushing that Indeed.com and getting those interviews going up.
Right.
And especially if somebody comes in on a Friday. What does that mean if you come in on a Friday? You either don't got no job.
Yeah.
Or you like, I took off my other job to come for this interview. I'm going to be here.
Right.
So there's things to think about.
And as far as, when it comes to investing, do you think it is a better route to go with the real estate investing in today's climate, or more so maybe investing into an existing business?
Man, that's tough. It depends on your market, right? When you have a property, you can go many ways, whether the market's up or down.
Right.
Say I've got a property, I'm renting it out. Oh, Ericka, the rents, it's hard to get rental. Give rents. Okay, I'm going to sell it. Okay, Ericka, can't sell it. Yeah. I'm going to owner finance it to somebody. They're going to bring me a deposit. They're going to make on-time payments for the next 3 years. And probably 90% of them in 3 years going, I can't buy the house, and you do it all over again. There's a million ways to win whether the market is up or down when it comes to real estate. And number one thing I want our community to pay attention to, and anybody's community at this point really is, what's our number one complaint online? The rent's too high.
Yeah.
Housing. And I'm like, all right, well, let's solve that problem. How do we solve it? Either you're going to build it, you're going to own it, you're going to house hack it. What's the solution here for you?
Right.
It has to be some solution in that. Now, when it comes to business, man, that's a million highway road. But you have to also do that self-assessment. What am I good at? Is this a business I can kind of template? Is this a template business? Is this something I can kind of put a COO over or a CFO over, which is Chief Operating Officer, and then Chief Financial Officer. Those are those terms. And more than likely now you can get somebody to run it for you. But you got to be strong enough negotiator, you know what I'm saying, to get that started.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I guess it really just depends on what route you want to take. Yeah. But they both can obviously be very advantageous.
Both are, like, a one house is a business in itself. Right? That's what I tell people. I'm like, if you ever notice somebody once they get 1 or 2 houses, they're like, hey, just chilling, living my best life. You're like, you're a new person.
Yeah.
Because it really is a business in a box. Both of them are.
Absolutely. And so as far as being in the digital age, because obviously, you're an entrepreneur, you're in real estate, but you've also had a big stamp in the digital world with content creation, YouTube. If someone is looking to get into that space, what are maybe some like tips that you can give them or advice with getting out there as a content creator? Because I know it can be very daunting sometimes getting in front of the camera, putting yourself out there. So do you have any advice for them?
You know what's interesting, when I go to a lot of these conferences for YouTube and VidCon and VidSummit, like 80% of the YouTubers are introverts. I'm definitely an extrovert. You've met me. I'm super extroverted. Yeah. What interests me about that is they're home. They're recording. Yeah. They're in a space. They're recording. That's their comfort zone. They don't have to get out of their comfort zone necessarily. Now you have to determine, what am I using YouTube for, right? Just as one platform example. Yeah. Am I using it to book speeches? Am I using it to bring a community together? Am I using it to JV with people? Right. Am I using it to display? Like, there's several real estate channels where I've seen people, look at this property. Yeah. I'm building another one. And it's very much a, come here, invest with me. What are we using the platforms for, right? Because you have to determine what type of business you have, right? If you notice during the pandemic, man, people with tax channels went through the roof.
Oh, yeah.
Man, I saw this one accountant. He's smoking a cigar. He's up here in Dallas. He's sitting on his office couch, and he's laughing. He's like, what's your tax questions? I mean, he's just chilling. Right. He's having a good time. Now, how many tax accountants you're like, I can't wait to invite them somewhere? Not many, right? Yeah. And so it's using the platform to serve you, not the other way around. You don't have to be a dancing in videos and, hopping on top of cars. You ain't got to do all that. Yeah. There's a desire for genuine people. Right? There's a desire to connect and work with genuine folks. And so that's what you see. That's kind of how I've built out my platform. I just bring on great people who are experts at their field. I let them talk. I affiliate with them. I do events with them, and I keep it moving.
I know that having a platform, because, I have a pretty decent social media platform as well.
She's like, I get a pretty decent, it's all right.
It's not like millions or anything, but... but there is I think there is a responsibility that we have as we become these kind of like online community leaders. And so I know that this week has been crazy. Everyone's, it's been hectic with the whole like Grant Cardone situation, and then so I know that you spoke on that on your YouTube channel. So can you give a little insight? Like, what do you think as someone who does educate on real estate, wealth building, business, to the Black community? How do you feel about the statements that were made?
So, disclaimer, your girl is invested in Cardone Capital. I've also went to Cardone Ventures, and I just came from the 10X Growth Con. So, with that, we done disclaimed. So, with that out the window, what I tell people is, how does this stop us from owning businesses, keeping businesses, making money, buying properties, donating to charities of people of our choosing? It's filler noise. And what we don't realize, and I'm going to do this because I have to, there's no such thing as counsel culture. I know, no, Ericka, it's true. Listen, if you can't counsel someone with a following, there are people to this day that we've tried to counsel. They're bigger than ever. Yeah. They have 10x the followers, right? Because this is what happens. Their name is up in the algorithm. Right? You're pushing their name out. Everybody's writing videos about them, think pieces. Yeah. If a person provides a service or has a service business, it's very hard to counsel them, right? I always take the example, nail salons. Some guy hits a lady in the head. We're like, we're going to protest that nail salon. Well, 10 ladies didn't see it. Didn't see the news, didn't see the protest, didn't see the Facebook group, didn't see the post. And they're getting their feet done. Right. And life goes on. My biggest answer to them is one of his quotes, who gets the most attention wins. Yep. And we are giving him the attention of a lifetime. And I can tell you like this, like clockwork, every 3 months, Grant Cardone says something outlandish. Every 3 months. And it's whether it's us, another group of people responding to it, it's like pew, 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 in the algorithm. Yeah. And so my biggest concern to them, this week we had people say, well, I teach this, and I teach training, and I teach SOPs. All right, get out in that marketplace, spend that money, show us who you are, promote your conferences. In contrast, I think Lamar Tyler, out of Atlanta, he does an amazing conference, been doing it for years. It sells out every year. The best marketing training there is. And it's like when I brought his name up as a comparison, people were like, who? I was like, that's a problem. I should be able to bring your name up, and you could be like, oh, the black Cardone, right?
Right.
There's people in the dating space who I go, oh, that's the black Kevin Samuels, or that's the white Kevin Samuels, right? You should be able to have a reference point. And in our community, we love flying under the radar. I got to get past the haters. I got to stay low.
Right.
You know, they looking for me. You know, I don't be out in them streets, Ericka.
Move in silence.
Move in silence
Yeah.
with a microphone. Move in silence.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, if I make a mistake, I'm going to own that. I made a mistake. Let's move on. Let's do this. Let's amend it. Let's keep moving forward. Because everything we teach us out in this economy, there is no cancel culture. This man's going to have more black viewers next month. I do not believe half his followers are black at all. You know how I know? I go to FigCon, I go to other conferences, and half the room's 1/3 black. I'm at your event, it's less than 10% of us in there.
That's true. Because definitely when we went to 10X in 2019, I think we were scattered in the crowd, but it was very few,
very
far
Latino.
between. Yeah.
And that was one of his biggest ones because he had Ty Lopez. He like dived into the stadium and bust that knee up. Right? So something Grant said that a lot of people missed. I'm going to buy equity in 2,000 businesses. And I said, did y'all just catch that? No matter if you counsel this guy, he going to be sprinkled across 2,000 businesses. Checks will still come to his house. Checks will still go through Cardone Capital. I got paid while I was out there. It hit my bank. I said, I can't say nothing because I just got paid.
Right.
Gotta be quiet. Right? So these things are, this is the chess, not checkers. This is the monopoly.
Right.
Right? We out here. I'm mad. Okay. What bank do you own? What business do you own? What house do you own? What rental properties? You know how many stories I hear of people's moms? My mom's rent went up and she got to move. Well, the definition of rent is move. Like at some point you will move.
Right.
You don't own that place. And so my answer to a lot of this is, yes, is it our responsibility to not be out here with crazy people scamming, doing crazy stuff? Always. We should be protecting our audience at all costs. We should be able to step forward and say, hey, I got new information. My bad. Didn't know. Right. Something happened. We should be able to do that. But ultimately, cancel culture doesn't work. It's what we learned.
That's true.
Over the past couple of years.
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
I agree with that. Because like you said, anyone that the social media world has tried to cancel, it just has blown up their brand, you know, and even this.
Bad money.
Yeah, exactly. And it's free publicity. I don't think that there is a such thing as bad publicity. Yeah. I know that this past week, you know, me and Austin went viral and people were, you know, so-called trying to like cancel us, saying that, you know, we're promoting
Look at
whatever.
Her being beautiful and staying at home and loving her family and children.
Right.
Shame on her.
Right. Yeah. It got
the craziest thing, right?
Yeah, it got a little wild. But on that flip side, although there were thousands, like 13,000 people saying negative things in the comment section, my following grew by 2,000 to 5,000 on all my platforms. Well, you know,
when I watched her video, the first thing I'm watching, I'm like, well, I would ask in the video, what's her business? Oh, he let her stay home. What's the business?
Right.
I'm going to go Google her. Yeah. That's immediately the reaction.
Right.
And so, unfortunately, there's like a double push in our culture. Hey, man, look, I made it. I did all this. Okay, quit bragging. You in my face. You showing me that I could change too, right? Or I could provide enough to my wife could stay home, right? These are things that are like mirrors.
Right.
You look like me. You doing successful. What? It goes against the narrative. It goes against what they've been taught for years. It goes against what the TV's saying. You know, right now, if you turn on the news, that's why people have low information eyes. But you turn on the news, oh my God, the sky's falling. Yeah. Housing market's crashing. Yeah. No one has any money. Children are homeless in the streets. They're starving. Right. I mean, I'm out here in parts of Texas. Money is just, you know, people come in Austin.
Yep.
The housing market's going to crash. Right? What side of the game are you on this? And so if you're a person who's like, hey, I'm insulted that Grant Cardone said, I'm going to talk down to people. I'm just paraphrasing, right?
Yeah.
He can barely speak good English himself. What are y'all talking about, right?
Yeah.
For one. And for two, why are you assuming that's to us, right? Why are you assuming that's only to us? If you look at our society, reading levels are all-time lows across the board. Right? Comprehension's low across the board. There's no one who has a better position up than you. If you push yourself, you try, right? So my question to them is like, are we going to stay fake mad at this, or are we going to go solve a different problem? How does that, like if I ask you, hey, Ericka, I can't believe you went to 10X Growth Con. You're a terrible person. And I go, hey, are you in the house? No. Are you pre-approved? No. Why not? My credit. Okay, well, let's solve your problem. Right? Like, you know, when everybody was like, Donald Trump, oh my God. I was like, how does that change what's going on in your house? That's really the truth out of all this. How does that change what's going on in your house? And what gets people so mad is I would be in people's live streams. So what's the solution? And it would drive them crazy. And, you know, I'm just trolling a little bit. But
Yeah.
that's really that's what we got out of this. Yes, it's our responsibility to be careful, tell people to do their due diligence. But at the end of the day, like, this is a research that anybody can be Googled. Anybody can be researched.
Right.
Anybody can read reviews. But to act like, shame on y'all for interacting with Grant Cardone. We have to interact with all kinds of people out here.
Right.
We don't know everybody's background. We don't know everybody's mission and purpose. So many companies, that is their game plan, to run off black consumerism.
Right.
So it's a tough thing, because I know it's probably going to happen 3 months again from now. So it's like, did you hear what he said? What? Girl, he said something else again?
Again?
No.
Right.
No way.
Yeah, and I know I've seen some other, you know, people talking about it, saying that, you know, we're just really focused on the wrong things within our community. As far as, I guess, influencers or content creators who are teaching, you know, investing and just helping people build wealth, is it, or whose responsibility, I should say, whose responsibility is it to make sure that the community is being educated by the right people? Is it, you know, maybe the educators aren't putting enough ad money out the way that someone like a Grant Cardone is, or is it the community themselves not supporting those creators?
Man, let me tell you, I watch the internet, and sometimes I'm like, y'all listening to Little Boots? Y'all listening to the Country Wayne? Country Wayne's funny. I like him, right? But we have to say, again, when people say, oh, black people are this, that's crazy. There's 45 million black people. I think it's more, but that's another story.
Yeah.
There's 45 million black people. There's 45 million ways to be black. There's always somebody that's going to reach people differently. Right? Oh, I'm looking for women that talk about this. There are groups out there. Right there. And it's like, when the student is ready, the teacher appears kind of conversation.
Right.
So who am I to say, I may not like the way that young lady talks to her clients, but her clients may think that's the best. You know, one dude that does motivational speaking that I think is hilarious, Nino Brown, man. He's hilarious. Hilarious. But he be having what the Lord say to you, you know, like, and people be on his stuff. And I'm like, you know what? If he speaks to them and they encourage him, who am I to say he's the wrong voice for them? Now, here's my problem. If he starts marketing crypto without giving you a disclaimer, if he starts marketing other things without giving you a disclaimer, then for sure, we need to have a conversation. But at the end of the day, I'm always going to tell my students, like I tell everybody else, CYA, consult your attorney, consult your accountant, consult your advisor. Right? I'm always pointing you to people. So there's a guy I bring on my show called DJ the Money Coach. He's a team of attorneys, investment people, advisors. And I go, hey, you guys, get a self-assessment by him. They're licensed. You can at least know where you're at, where you can get started. You can get a plan going. And so many people have never heard of that. Like, what? Yeah, get a self-assessment. Anytime you invest any money, you should be seeing where you're at on the spectrum, your age, what income you make. There's ways to prevent some of this stuff we're hearing. Right? It's doing due diligence, essentially. So it's hard for me to say, hey, I don't want everybody teaching that. We're talking about an economy where 55% of Americans are underbanked. Some of them, they go into the corner store cashing checks. They're going to the Walmart cashing checks. They're getting, you know, if they get a Chime card, I mean, I like it, but it's a start. They get a baby fat card, it's a start. Right? Let them get a start, and then hopefully as we're educating, they're getting, okay, I need to know more. Right? Look how many people want to buy a home in 2020. All of a sudden it was like, black people, hey, how can I get a pre-approved? What's the NACA loan? What's the this? What's the no money down? And you're like, nah, we've been talking about this for years now. Y'all quit playing. But they were ready. Things changed. Money changed. Inflation was hitting them. Right? Especially in Atlanta, wherever people are like, you know, Atlanta used to have cheap rent. Y'all, Atlanta ain't had cheap rent in 20 years. Cut it out. You got to be serious when you move down there.
Yeah, people say that about Dallas too, but I was like, where? Where is it? Where's the cheap rent?
Somebody had like it was a couple, CNBC followed them, and they were like, we make $100K a year. We just can't even afford to live in Dallas. I'm like, girl, where you living?
Yeah.
What you doing? And she started naming off her bills, her phone bill, her car bills, her insurance. I'm like, all that stuff can be adjusted. All that stuff can be talked about with your insurance provider. Your phone bill can be changed. All these things are changeable, right? But you don't know if you don't know.
Right. That's true. And I think that is the issue for a lot of people is just you literally don't know what you don't know. So even if you know that, okay, hey, I know I need to do better financially, I don't even know where to start or like what to put into Google, to figure out the answer or the solution. So for someone who's in that predicament, I mean, where do they start?
So 9 times out of 10, I used to thought this was crazy, but it's not. How to budget channels. I used to think, I'm going to bust out a piece of paper. I used to watch my mom. She's in the military. She write the gross and the bills. Boom. Budget done. But there's people who never got that lesson. Right? So I go on YouTube and there's people teaching people how to budget. Dave Ramsey, I made a comment and I'll stand by this. Dave Ramsey and Grant Cardone will be billionaires at the end of this. Because Dave Ramsey's now, if you get filed for bankruptcy in Tennessee, you have to go through his training. Right? So there's all these resources out there where people go, man, I have no money every month. What's going on? Budget. They're going to start looking up budgets. Okay, now they've got the budget under control. They're going to start looking at what? How can I increase my 401k, match my employer, or start investing? Right? You saw how Robinhood blew up. Right? Yeah. Robinhood's doing commercials, and people are like, don't go there. It's a terrible platform. It's doing good for me, whatever, Right. And so in response, I did videos like StockPal and all these other companies that you could look at, do fractional share ownership. The goal is getting their foot in the door, but they have to be interested, right? What makes people interested? The pain of staying the same versus the pain of change, right? Every January, everybody want to lose 50 pounds. So every January. Yeah. About summertime, look, each body going to get what they going to get. Okay? This summer going to get me, right? Yeah. It's the same when it comes to money. Like, this is painful. I know this sounds crazy, but I've done a ton of consulting phone calls over the years. And I'd be surprised how many husbands would call. Hey, man, I'm trying to figure out, what to do. My wife is home pregnant, and I didn't budget. I didn't think, like, she was going to stay home this long. Right. I didn't know how much this was going to cost. And I'm like, you are married, and a lady got pregnant, and you didn't think there's going to be a window of time, 3 to 4 months here, where she's going to be out of the commission. She's not going to be able to work, or she's not even going to be able to. Ideally, the cost of daycare, once you add it back up, does it make sense for her to go back to work? And by the time I got 100 of these calls, I was like, y'all playing. Yeah. This can't be real. But people really, they don't know till they get to the pain point. Hey, I didn't budget for this. What should I do? I'm like, okay, well, let's sit down, write out all your expenses. What are things we can cut? What are the costs? Did you call all the daycares within 30 minutes of you, right? Right. Stuff like that to me is basics. To some people, that's when they wake up.
And it makes sense. And a lot of people don't realize the financial changes that do happen when you are actually like starting or even growing your family, because I know that when I was pregnant with my daughter, I ended up having to stay home. I had a high risk pregnancy, and that's when I became a stay-at-home mom and realized, the amount of money that I was going to make at my job was only going to cover daycare. So it wouldn't have even made sense, for me to, it wasn't, I literally go to work to pay the daycare. Wouldn't have made any sense. But I think a lot of people don't realize the expenses that do come with starting a family or having kids, with daycare costs, diaper costs, all the other costs, right, that come with it. And I think it just goes into financial planning. I don't think people actually plan.
Oh, no. They just living life.
Go with the flow.
I fell down and I'm pregnant. Oh, Lord, Jesus. I got a baby now. You're like, girl, what? The rising number of women having babies are 39 to 41. Really? And so now you got these bills that are going to be higher. You got costs, high risk pregnancy, all this other stuff that's in the mix. And you're like, now you got to plan for this now. You can't just fall down pregnant at 39 and be like, oh, Lord. Like, you got to have some planning. But even I had a call one time and the guy was like, our food budget's crazy. And I was like, is it? Have you ever been to the grocery store with your wife? Never. Right. In all their years of being married, I ain't never been with her. She just go to the store and come back. And I'm like, well, do you look at the receipt? Do you know? Right. And so you have people who really are like playing their role. They're just rolling with the punches, and then life happens. Right? Should be a little bit more planning, we would hope. Right. That's not always the case.
Interesting. So how do you, as far as people, like maybe they're trying to get their life together and start planning, has there been anything that has helped you as far as like planning with your money or money management?
Man, so I was in college, and there was this guy, we were in microeconomics. He was like, I think it was macroeconomics. He was like, hey, if you take my next course, because he was trying to always, I'm
Yeah.
going to teach y'all how to do stocks. I'm going to teach y'all how to do all this stuff. And he was kind of cool. And so I'm like, okay, I'm signing up for that class. Not only did he teach us about stocks, he taught us how to buy homes, all stuff. We had girls in there who were kind of from the round side of the tracks, that's the best way to say that. And they had been working their whole time there in college. But they had also been getting financial aid checks. And they went and bought a duplex that year. And I was like, how? And she's like, weren't you listening in class when he just walked us through all these steps?
Wow.
And so sometimes the information can be out there and we just, I'm in class, you know, I'm half hungover, but I'm here. Right?
Yeah.
That was the journey that started the information where I could start reading. And then I read the 4-Hour Workweek. And I was like, yo, I can travel the world. I can do all the, you know, PPC. And I'm telling my friends and family, they're like, what? But it was that curiosity for like how to do things different, right? I was starting to work in offices and realized, oh, yuck, right?
Yeah.
So I ended up owning a coffee shop across from a historically black college for 3.5 years. And then they start tearing up the road. And I was like, man, me and 3 other businesses went under during that time. So then I said, okay, well, I didn't get married to this person because I was supposed to be married to somebody. And I flipped a coin. I said, I'm going to go to Nashville, Tennessee or Austin, Texas. And I got to Austin, Texas. And then it had to be the point of, okay, budgets, spending, living expenses, new city, basically a reverse engineer. It's like, what are the things I want to do? I want to go to this many music concerts. I want to go to this many night outs. I want to go 2-stepping every Friday. I want to go tubing down the river every Saturday. What does that look like and how much does that cost? Right?
And I know that's an important factor that you just mentioned. When people ask me about managing money or budgeting or, you know, just trying to get their life in alignment with what they want, a lot of times people would cut out those things, like the things that they enjoy, you know, the things that they like to do. They cut them out, and then it makes it very difficult for them to maintain that because they realize how miserable they are.
Miserable. Well, you know, even Dave Ramsey's staff and all those years of training, and their average person finishes their program in 18 months. And the response is because they're so miserable. They're like, oh, this is terrible. I want to get rid of this, right? And so I'm more of a like, look, let's reverse engineer our night. If you're a couple, how many date nights do you want? Let's say y'all go out every Friday. So that's 4 Fridays a month, right? That's, God, really, that's how many, 4 times 12 is 48?
Yeah.
48 date nights in a year or something to that effect, right? So now you know that math. Let's say it's $100 per date night, which is low, you know what I'm saying? But $4,800. Well, I already know I got to set aside almost $5,000 every year to take my wife on dates. Right? Let's say massages. I'm a big massage person. I'm going to spend that $100 every week. It's the best. It's worth it. I don't care what nobody say. Okay, now I know I got to set aside $5,000 for massages. You know, you just start adding that up. Like, what is something that if push came to shove, I really want this thing? Right? Let's say you're not even a date night person. Let's say just once a week you like to eat out.
Yeah.
Right? These are things you can totally, like, do the math for. You know, HSA accounts. I don't know if you know, health savings plans. I got one with Fidelity, and I put the money over there, and they're like, you know, you can get massages with this. I'm like,
Oh, wow.
all right. And it's tax deductible. Yeah. So it's small things like that when you start including what you want your life to look like. Right? I get on my phone with my clients, the first thing I say is, look, what is it you're currently doing? And what is it you want to be doing? Because we can sit all day and talk about, yeah, I got this office job, I do this. No, what is it you want to be doing? And let's dream from there. Let's go from that angle.
Right. I love that. I really love that approach because that's how I approach everything too. But I know that you said that you flipped a coin.
Yeah.
And it was either Nashville
Tennessee.
or it was going to be Austin, Texas. So can you talk briefly about that time period of, you know, because I know that moving states, you said that, you know, you were supposed to be married. So I'm sure there was a lot of life changes and a lot of leaps of faith, right, during that period. So can you talk about that a little bit?
So I knew with the way my family was like networked in North Carolina, if I moved to Charlotte or Raleigh, they'd be like, well, I know a friend that can get you a job and do this. And I'd kind of be back into like doing what would be comfortable for me.
Right.
Nashville was 10 hours away from my hometown, and Austin, Texas was 20 hours away. I went to Austin on a girls' trip. And we were like, we're going to go look at all these things. We did nothing but party on 6th Street every day for a week. And we're sick and went home. And I realized at that point, like, I like that city. I want to go back to it. And when I flipped the coin, I was like, oh, Austin it is, right? I came with a new sense of urgency. Like, let's find our apartment. Let's do this, that. I joined a church maybe 2-3 weeks after that, getting there. And the first couple people I met was like, oh, we have sales jobs for $70K a year. Entry level, we'll train you. right? So everywhere I was going was like, hey, let me help you. Let me get you in the door. Let me do this for you. And so I knew it was the right place. But every city I moved, I learned about new jobs, new opportunities. Even when I went to Barnes & Nobles in different cities. When I was from my hometown, everything was military. ASVAB, that's what you got. Study that. Firemen, police. I go to Raleigh. It's a whole wall of tech, different jobs. Study books. I go to Austin. A whole different set of books to study. You have to get out of the city you're in. I'm a military kid, so I lived in Alaska. We lived in Tennessee. We lived in Alabama and Maryland. And then we did a little bit of Germany. My brother got the other cool places. He got Spain and Europe and Japan, but he was older than us. And that having to move and you're nervous and you go to a new school and you got to start talking to people, I just love that, right? Because it's like, this is your time to shine. You can be anybody you want to be. You can start over in any city. Half y'all don't nobody know y'all. Y'all cancel y'all Facebook, start over and just use your middle name on Facebook. You got a whole new page. Right? It's about that challenge. And if you never challenge yourself, I can tell you right now, I'd be married to some other country boy joker, and we'd be doing cookouts and fat as can be and happy and having kids and be on about our day. But because I moved to this new city and I turned on a camera, 10,000 students later, millions of dollars later, won and lost, money invested in different states, real estate in different states, a whole different life. You know what I mean? And so it really comes down to, I find that moving ignites something in you. There's a movie called Dune. And of course, everybody likes the new version. I like the 1984 classic version. I was just born, but I watched the classic. Yeah. And the guy was like, Father, like, why are we moving? Because they had to move from this beautiful place to a dry place. He said, because when we don't move, something inside of us sleeps. And the sleeper must awaken. So, all the movie goes through. And then in the end, he, like, overcomes the challenge. He's like, Father, the sleeper has awakened.
Wow.
And it's like, in that movie, you're like, that's ourselves. That's our daily lives. We're just in traffic. We're working jobs we don't like. And this internet and this moving around and this shuffle people have done this past couple of years has awakened a lot of people. I know friends who got married because the pandemic, they were like, woo, Lord, I'm really by myself.
Yeah.
My friend hopped up and had a new wife. We're like, when you meet this girl? Hopped up, new wife, new baby. He was ready to go, right? It's challenges that mold us, right? It's mistakes that mold us. There's nothing wrong with ever making a mistake. Hey, I may have made a mistake, but I'm going to get back up and I'm going to fix it. And that's just how we have to look at life. So that's my little rant on that.
I know. I love that because you do have to get uncomfortable. And I always tell people that I think that moving out of your hometown is definitely a life hack, 100%. Because, when I moved from Gilbert, Arizona. That's where I grew up my entire life and moved here to Dallas. And so within that move, you had to learn how to be independent. You had to learn how to, unlearn a lot of the things that you were seeing growing up and realizing that's not what I want for the rest of my life.
Dry out
it is. Yeah. it is very dry.
Green trees.
Yes. But it's just a different mindset that you get into when you do move out of that environment where you're super comfortable and your back is against the wall and you realize, okay, I got to make something happen because no one's going to make it happen for you.
Sure.
So I absolutely love that.
Man, half the jobs I took here in Texas and the places I lived and starting the painting company would have never happened in my hometown. I'd have been chilling. I had family that worked in the police departments. I had people that worked on the military bases, government contracts. I had people that worked at the community college. I could have been an adjunct professor, right? Like, because there was a course at East Carolina. You took 4 courses. You were a temporary professor till they found a long-term professor. I was like, I will milk this forever. Yeah. There was just new doors that opened because I had to move. I had to leave what was comfortable. And I always tell people, I'm like, if it's just so miserable, you can always move back. But trust me, your mind changes.
Yeah.
You'll move to somewhere else or you'll do something else.
Yeah. Because once you're exposed to more, it's very challenging to go back into that box that you were once in. But a lot of times when you're in it, you don't even realize you're in a box until you leave. And you realize, wow, I was confined to this one idea of what life is. And you don't even know that there's so many possibilities out there.
Endless. I've met people who, they moved to Germany. And everybody's like, can you believe he's over there? And I'm like, yes, he was in the military. He lived there before. It's like, this is exciting. He can do it. And it's just one of those things where people are used to their kids being near them, their grandbabies. You going to live so far away? Yes.
Yeah.
We're going to live over here.
Yeah.
And so I think it's something with not just the pandemic, but like this new exposure. Like if you go on YouTube today and type I'm moving to Texas. Man, thousands of videos. I'm moving to Las Vegas. I'm moving to DC. Thousands of videos. Moving is something that stirs up the soul, right? One thing I will say, don't move to Atlanta. Your soulmate ain't there. Every day you be hearing women, I moved to Atlanta. I'm like, girl, just to go for the weekends. Live in Florida. Live in Virginia. Live somewhere else. But, you know, there's some places that people are like, I'm going to move there.
Yeah.
And they don't pay good. I'm like, not that they don't pay well. Do you have skills that can move anywhere, right? This is something people have to assess too, though.
Yeah. Absolutely. I know a lot of people are, it seems like everyone's in Atlanta. Like when I look on social media, either Atlanta or Miami, but I know a lot of people.
Texas.
People,
I don't care what y'all say. We doing it big out here.
Yeah.
We living. Yeah. We living out in Texas, y'all. I would fly to Atlanta a bunch of like, maybe I could live here. And I'm like, girl, bye. Texas is doing it.
Yeah. But Texas is full. So don't
come here.
It's too much.
Or go to Houston. Go to Houston.
Just send them all there.
Go to Houston. Nah, Dallas, y'all gonna get more.
Yeah.
The projection is crazy. The LA to Dallas, the Chicago to Dallas.
Yeah.
What's that other state I always see a lot of people? Wisconsin, Nebraska to Dallas is real big. It's like, good gracious. Like,
a lot of people are migrating here for sure. And I know that in Austin as well, they say it's a new Silicon Valley, right? With all the tech companies and startups that are really sprouting up in that area.
Yeah, you know, the funny thing is some people are like, I can't afford to live here no more. I'm like, they literally at ACC Community College had a free, Dale paid for it for years. ACC had a network administrator, free degree. You could go for free.
Wow.
And I had 3 students who didn't tell me because they were in such bad ways. They came down from New York on a bus with just a backpack. Dude got registered as local Austin resident, ID, took the class. He's like, my first job, I'm making $85,000 a year.
Wow.
He took me to dinner and then told me the whole story. I'm like, dude, first of all, don't move to Austin because I'm telling you about free stuff or jobs. Research the area, be in a good position when you leave your home state. But thank you for those guys. I mean, it was amazing hearing their stories, seeing them. Every year I do a boat party in Austin, and it's just like amazing people come out. But I'm always like, our words have power on this internet. People will pick up and move to a new state.
Yeah.
But they had this free network administrator degree. Well, Austin was like, we're doing everything we can to get people here for these jobs. And so when I would meet people in my hometown in Austin, they're like, oh, I'm from here, ain't no jobs. I'm like, girl, bye. I remember working as an apartment manager at a lower income, just, you know, I'll just say income-based housing. Mm-hmm. And we had a young lady, she's like, I'm graduating my master's in HR. We're like, yeah, girl, yes, you got it. And we're like, where you gonna work? She's like, oh, you know, I don't know, Texas is in a recession. And we in the front office looking at each other like, is this a joke? And we laughing thinking she's joking.
Yeah.
And she's just looking at us like, why y'all laughing? I'm like, oh, honey, you for real. Texas ain't in no recession, girl. You better go work at Lowe's, H-E-B, whatever, you know. We're naming off places. She was so offended. Like, I said, girl, get your foot in the door somewhere. But this is a young lady who had 2 kids, and all she's ever done is go to high school and go to college.
Right.
So now she's got this master's degree with no work experience. And for us telling her she could go work at Lowe's at Home Depot, she was offended.
Yeah.
Because she probably had this dream of, I'm going to work in an office and tell people what to do. Who knows, right? Yeah. But that's just the conundrum we're in, right? People are, you know, oh, no, it's a recession. Who told you that? I remember meeting this guy in Dallas at the Dallas Fair. He's like, yeah, I wish I could open a business in Dallas, but Dallas is not doing good out here. And me and my friend were like, Dallas is doing bad? Where you at in Dallas? You know what I mean? You had to really listen to people. Right. I've heard people say there's no jobs in Dallas. I'm like, what part of Dallas are you in? Like, you know what I mean? You start asking questions because you're like, that don't sound right. And so it's just lack of exposure, lack of moving around.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. You know, I think it was Robert Kiyosaki that says you have to create your own economy anyway. So it doesn't matter if the world economy is up or down. You know, you create your own ecosystem, your own economy, and it can be up or down just depending on your actions and what you decide to do with it. You know, absolutely.
It's all mindset. It's all mindset. It's all how you want to rock it. You know, you just learn a lot. You learn a lot from your doing, not sitting. Like I'm in mastermind groups where people pay $10K, $20K to be in there. I'm all, okay, I took this little money out.
Yeah.
There are people in there that didn't do a thing. I'm like, you haven't bought any land? You haven't started building? No. I'm like, what are you doing here? You're 3 years into this group and you haven't done anything. And so some of it is people being ready and convincing themselves that they're ready. Right? Like they got all the information. You don't need to buy another course. Let me tell you, you don't need to buy another course. You got the information. You don't watch 4,000 hours of videos on YouTube. You don't need another course. take action this year.
Yeah.
Like, I literally had to tell people, like, you good. Just take action on some of the stuff you already bought. Right? No hate to anybody selling courses. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Let's get out there.
Yeah, take action and execute. I think that's the word of the year, for 2023, especially for me, is execution. And I think a lot of people need to execute. Like you said, they've watched enough videos. It's time to put in the work. It's time.
What you'll see a lot this year in 2023 is a lot of in-person meetups.
Yes.
And masterminds. People have been in the house. They've tried that. They tried the court. They tried all online stuff, and now they need to get in person. They need to get moving. Like, I need some movement.
Yeah.
Right. I came up here to DFW area, and there was a guy from our group. He's like, "Look, I'm trying to start this subdivision. I have this many lots available. I can sell you." I'm like, "Let's do it." Right. Like, because he had already did all the initiative, but he was losing steam and energy because the people he were talking to. I was like, "This is a great deal you have. Like, we just turning this street into a little cul-de-sac. Let's do it." Right. And so you have to be careful who you spending your time around and who you're around. Right? So you're going to see more people get out of their house and go to some of these events because they need the in-person energy.
Yep, I agree with that. I definitely can see that shift happening from coming back from online to offline for sure. And it's great to actually be able to connect with you again as well in person, because I know that we've been connecting on Instagram and YouTube and everything. So that's definitely going to be the move for this year.
For sure.
But
I know, first time meeting, we were dancing.
Yeah.
We were dancing. Get it?
Yeah. I mean, conferences are great. And a lot of people ask, how do I expand my network? How do I meet different people? And really, it's going to conferences. Like I said, I met you at a conference here in Dallas. So it's being able to go to environments where there are like-minded people. Right. That's so extremely important.
A big thing I tell people to do is write the top 100 people you want to meet this year. It'd be so easy to be like, people think, "Oh, I'll never meet this person."
Yeah.
It gets really easy once you kind of focus on it. Like, I think I wanted to see Jordan Peterson, and he was doing a show. It's going to come in Austin. Oh, well, when you write down a list of people and you kind of like, I'm not saying manifest. I don't want anybody to be like, "Here come Ericka with that." No, not with the woo-woo. But like a real list of like, I want to meet these 100 people because the people also meeting them are going to be in this type of space. And that's what ended up happening. I wrote 100 people I wanted to meet. People know me a lot for pulling up. I'll pull up.
Yeah.
Asia out of Detroit. I was like, I want to meet Properties in Detroit. She's like, "Okay, yeah, everybody says that." I'm at the airport. Like, I'm at the airport. Are you gonna pick me up? She's like, "Girl, you for real here?" I said, "Yeah." She picked me up, and then that's been 4 years of that, right? And so I like pulling up to people's cities when they're really productive because I think they get tired of people claiming they want to do something and never do anything.
Yeah.
Right. Even the duplexes I'm building in Arizona are coming out of me meeting someone at a conference. He say he doing big things. I happen to be in Las Vegas. I'm like, I'm going to drive down to Phoenix. Get down there. Boom. Doom, doom, doom.
Wow.
Domino effect. So it really comes out of like, I write a list of 100 people I want to meet that year. Whether I saw them at a conference or I saw them somewhere, I want to incorporate them more in my life.
Right.
And as you grow and change, you'll start losing folks.
Yeah.
Tables start sliding. People I ain't got no time to hang out. No problem. I'll find somebody else. Right? You have to add new people into the mix. That's just life. Right? When y'all start having kids, do you know some friends are like, "Oh, we ain't calling them. We going out to the club this weekend."
Right.
Like, you ain't never heard from them again. Right? Or I've had some friends who they all had babies at the same time, and one set of friends are just in the house people, and the other ones are like, "We're everywhere with our kid. We're at Disneyland. We're in Florida." Like, that happens. Motions. You're gonna meet new people, and new people are gonna leave out of the equation.
Yeah, it's just a part of the process of leveling up. New people come in, and like I said, you're going to lose some people, but that's okay because not everybody can, go to the top with you. That's just a part of it. So, Ericka, I really appreciate all the insight that you've given today. And, can you tell the audience where they can find you on social media?
Boom. You can find me on YouTube, Ericka Williams. I'm the third Ericka Williams. There's been some other famous ones, but I'm the third one, okay? You type in Ericka Williams, Classy Climb on YouTube, you can find me. Ericka Williams, Ericka's Classy Climb on Instagram. And those are my two main places. I've decided to kind of niche it down.
Yeah.
All last week, people were like, "You're in your clubhouse?" I'm like, "No." No, I'm not. I'm on the two places where you can find me, and I'm pretty responsive there.
I love it. Awesome. Well, again, I appreciate you for coming out all the way from Austin, Texas, here in Dallas. And for everybody tuning in, please make sure you guys are subscribing. Leave your questions, comments down below, and make sure you connect with Ericka on YouTube and on Instagram. She gives out amazing information. And you have do you have a course or a program, right?
Man, right now we have a funding bundle. We
Okay,
literally
nice.
just bundled up 4 great courses on how to get money for your business and how to get your paperwork in order. That's the number one way you'll find me. I'll do 1 live training a month on that course. And other than that, you'll find me at a few conferences this year. So I'm taking a group of people out to Panama with me and a group of people to Zanzibar.
Wow.
So it's going to be fun times this summer.
I love that. I love that. Well, you heard it here first, guys. Make sure you connect with her, and I hope you guys got a lot of value out of this. And again, this is the Boss Seat, where we show you what it costs to really be a boss, and we're going to catch you guys in the next episode.